Good morning. It's Saturday, January 10th. I got my amazing, incredible, it's the first time I've had it, vanilla, I think it's Kauai vanilla macadamia nut coffee. So good. So good. All right, what are we doing today? I have lined up. We got to finish reviewing the Claude code scores from yesterday, reviewing all the unit tests, making sure everything looks solid. That's great. That's exciting. The second thing is, after I validated those scores, I would have validated all the scores. Actually, there's potentially one score I want to do. I have written down here, but I might not add it. But after I'm finished reviewing all those scores, I'm going to go create larger sample data set for 4 more sets of material. And then I'm going to repeat this process, confirming the scores, output, or scores are correct according to how I think they should be. And then from there, I'll move on to some more interesting stuff that I think I'll get into. Now, a little bit of an update from yesterday. I got distracted with another project. I had this idea for something. It's not an original idea, and I'll share what I did in the code after I get a little bit further. There's some things that are a little buggy, but I had this idea, and in the background yesterday, I just had another instance of Claude code working on it. It's a completely new project from scratch. It made a lot of progress for me looking over and just having it go on. Now, this other project, I don't plan on actually doing anything. It was more so an experiment to just see what Claude Code can do, and also just in general test some other LLM or AI models, which I'll get into at another time. Having said that, today's Saturday, which means I have a lot more time to work on this and to finally cut off this portion of evals, commit everything I have, and then work on the more exciting harness, which I'll get to and explain once I start working on it, likely the next day or two. But really excited for this cut because I'm gonna have a proper eval framework set up, and I can start already improving the problem generation for the problem sets for the material that I already have covered, even before creating any more data sets for other lessons. And I can assume to like a reasonable degree that any improvement within these lessons will transfer across other lessons, as long as the prompts and the context I'm adding have nothing to do that aren't specific to this the material that these sample lessons are on. So I already can start making progress, improving the problem generation, and there's a lot of good things that can come out of this. So exciting stuff, and I will see you guys later today. Today's might be a little weird, at least cut up. I have a couple hour blocks throughout the day, and then there's some things I have to do in between, but I don't think that's going to stop me from getting the things I need to done today, because it's all right there. I think I got a good grasp, a good hold on everything that needs to be done. It's a matter of doing it. So yeah, looking forward to it, and I will see you guys later. Hello, great Saturday. Lots got done. I'll go through basically the gist of it. But first, high-level stats. Around 5 hours and 58 minutes and 25 seconds. Around there. Couple things of significance. Gone through the majority of the Claude code scores that I generated yesterday. I reviewed the code. There's honestly kind of a lot wrong with it. There's some things that Claude code just does, and also anti-gravity, Gemini, just does that, just does not have any common sense. Like, one really easy example is, as a part of one of these scores, it would look for keywords inside of the lesson title to check if it's a specific type of lesson, which is like we have an LLM right there, and you have a heuristic keyword check of like looking for literally specific words. It's just crazy. And then likewise with test, unless I remind it or whenever I write like a testing guide doc for a specific type of test, it always defaults to doing really dumb smoke test. So yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't want to go off into a tangent about like the state of AI right now. Lots to be excited about, lots, but there's certain things that I'm just still so shocked. And it reminds me of like Jan LeCun's criticisms that the models are still pretty fragile. And even if we like 10x the token context, the context size to like 10 million, which I think Llama 4 did, but did a horrible job. There's still some common sense things that still seem to be missing. So like how much of the benchmarks that we're seeing are just like optimizing towards benchmarks, or just like brute force strategy because we now have test time compute. Lots to think about. Don't want to go there. It's always funny when I get frustrated because I'm also very much the same person that gets extremely impressed whenever a new model is released. Maybe I just get used to it too quickly. All right, so what do we do today? I reviewed the majority of the code and the test, the edge cases. There's 2 more test files I need to look at, but it should be pretty quick. I got into the rhythm of it, but the reason it was so much of the time I spent today out of 6 hours actually wasn't even reviewing the test. It was like making adjustments to the scores, some of the initial decisions and design decisions that Claude Code made, so on and so forth. I think the one failing, which I don't necessarily do with code within my code base anymore because I learned my lesson the hard way numerous times, but I thought with this I didn't have to give as much of a design spec for Claude Code. This is what we were testing out, and there was just, again, like I said, some design decisions and some, it's like even simple things that I felt like it got wrong. High level though, it kind of was in the right direction. It just reminds me that I need to stay on top of it when it's not throwaway code and stuff that actually matters. So that's what I did. That's why we review code, and that's why Codebase isn't gonna get diluted. Couple things that I thought were interesting. Oh yeah, so there was this one moment when one of the scorers was tagging and adding metadata to the problems, data. The data it was adding was what type of problem it was. So there's this thing called, I think it's Webb's depth of knowledge. Webb's the guy. Depth of knowledge is like, he classified knowledge into like 4 different categories. There's like recall, I think it's like procedure, strategic thinking, and extended thinking or something. But anyways, there was a score that was checking out the problem types, and I realized that that data should probably be with the problems on initial generation as well. And so at first I left a note like, oh, go make that refactor later, but I realized I have tests all around the initial agent pipeline generation, so why wait? Like, I think if you have really solid tests around a piece of code, you should feel very free to refactor it if you know exactly what test or what type of test you're going to need to add or adjust to compensate for that change. And so I did, and it was honestly somewhat pretty quick. There's some things I had to follow through, but the refactor was pretty quick, or not even necessarily refactor. The adjustment, the addition was really quick, and then I was really confident in the change because I could just test it. On the flip side of that, there's another thing I discovered that's kind of like a potential design issue. It was a very intentional decision early on. There's this specific field that's schemaless. It's just a JSON in my database, and it's like that for a reason. I want to make sure I can iterate quick, and it's proven very helpful because there's a lot that it's been changed, and I don't have to migrate my database every time. However, if I were to change something like that, I couldn't just do a really quick refactor because there's an entire scope of test I would need to rethink and rewrite. All that to say, if you have really solid tests and you know a feature addition won't you know what test to address and specifically what they'll need to look out for, just do it really quick. It's honestly really fast with LLMs. If not, if the tests are the things that you need to think about, unless it's something you need to do right now, definitely don't just do it as a one-off, because you don't want to just be left with a bunch of bad tests. You really do need to review the tests that these LLMs generate. All right. Other funny thing that I took a note of was, it is surprising how much Claude code cost. And like I've worked with people that spent like $2,000 a month on Claude Code, so I know how expensive it can be. But it's just it hurt a little bit because yesterday I actually ended up spending like $75 just on Claude Code credits. Part of it was that side project I mentioned earlier, but that little one-off experiment. But yeah, it's kind of expensive. I went back to anti-gravity because I can just use Claude Code if I need to. So yeah, that's where we're at for the day. I'm going to review those two files. I might review them later tonight. I might review them in the morning and do the final commit. When I do the final commit, I will be sure to add that so we can check a stats change update. But yeah, well on the way. I'm really happy about it. Really unhappy I didn't finish today, but I'm not worried because I know this is going to take me like 20-30 minutes of focused effort. Actually, each file's been taking me like 20 minutes, so like 40 minutes of effort tomorrow, and then I'm done with this portion, move on to the next step. So you'll see that tomorrow, and so will I. Other than that, there's nothing else. So yeah, see you next time.